And now, podcasting from the sun-scorched desert Southwest, weighing in at a combined total of 340 pounds, Brad Winchester, Tyler McDowell-Blanken, R. Gimmick Infringement.
Welcome, everybody, to the Gimmick Infringement Podcast. I am Brad Winchester, and with me, as always, is my tag team partner, Tyler McDowell-Blanken. And Tyler, today we are not alone. How are you this weekend?
I am extra great, Brad, for the exact reason you just said. We are not alone. We are joined by a very special guest, friend of the show, George Romero. George, how are you doing, man?
Doing good. Just got back from a family trip, so in high spirits, ready for the upcoming week.
Let's go.
Awesome.
Well, George is in the building. We have so much to get to. Brad, obviously you and I chop it up every single week, which is always a glorious occasion, but I am so stoked because George is here. We attended a major wrestling show together this week, which I know we'll get into later. We got some Bachelor talk. We got some life talk. I think it's going to be a really great episode. How are you doing, by the way, Brad?
Doing well. Still clinging to this funky voice cough situation since I've been sick. Like, what, going on like a month now? So really over it. Tired, stressed, but very grateful to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be amazing. I know Rodeo Break is concluding, so I hope it's been a great one, Brad. It seems like you've had a nice mix of some downtime with the fam, but also doing some work for GI, doing some work in the theater area at the high school. So this is great, man. What a time for us.
Amazing. Yes.
Yeah. Let's go. Well, we're going to kick it off with WWE talk as we usually do, but we're going to sprinkle something a little bit different in. Instead of the usual my question, Brad's question format, we are going to have more of a temperature check. So I have a prompt here for you fellas, and I want to go ahead and lead it off.
And now, it's time to talk WWE.
My question for you. We saw developments in the Bloodline storyline, right? We have Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes set for the main event of WrestleMania 39. It would seem as though we're heading to the Usos versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for the tag titles. By no means confirmed yet, but I would argue that most signs seem to point that way. However, aside from everything involving the Bloodline, here are my questions for you guys. Which match scheduled for Mania has the best storyline, and which match are you most excited for? And I want to give you our current card for Mania. We have Charlotte versus Rhea, Bianca versus Asuka. These are unconfirmed, but very likely to happen. Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul, Rey Mysterio versus his son Dominic, Omos versus Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley versus Bray Wyatt, ? And the U.S. title and IC titles are still up in the air. We don't know who Austin Theory's opponent's going to be, John Cena. And we don't know who Gunther's opponent's going to be, hopefully Ricochet. But again, my question's for you guys. Which match scheduled for Mania has the best storyline, excluding the Bloodline? And which match are you most excited for, also excluding the Bloodline? George, you want to kick us off?
Tyler, did you watch SmackDown before we get there?
I caught the highlights. I did not watch it fully.
So you didn't see Drew McIntyre come to the ring for the IC title match?
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Yeah. Okay, there you go.
It's
okay.
Drew.
It's going to be Drew versus Gunther. Go ahead.
So no Ricochet.
No, absolutely not. He's too busy teaming with the Power Team with Braun Strowman.
It wasn't it? No. Okay, so the Imperium defeated Braun Strowman, Ricochet, and Madcap. Right? Madcap took the pin. Okay. Drew versus
he should have. Yes.
Drew versus Gunther. I'm here for. I love that. All right, George. Passing it on to you, man. Thank you, Brad, for that assist.
Well, I was going to say Ricochet is not completely out of it because who was it? Edge, Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns, when Daniel Bryan got to wiggle his way into that match. So Ricochet's not out of it.
We can dream, yes.
Yes. Outside of the Bloodline storylines, I really want to see Dark Asuka win the title. So Bianca and Asuka, I think, are going to make magic in the ring. I'm not sure if the storyline is going to be like built up to that point, but those two just working together, I think in the ring can tell a really good story, because you do have Bianca Belair, the powerhouse, who's the EST, and Asuka with this new character who's got a little bit more like edge and like ruthlessness to her. I think it's a better version of what like Alexa Bliss was for Bianca, kind of that darker character that will bring out a little bit more of her.
I love it. Brad, how about you? I know Bianca and Asuka are two of your favorites on the roster. Is that match one of the ones you're most hyped for?
Yes, but you asked a different question, Tyler. You asked which match and story. That match has zero story, 0.0% build.
The outcome is going to be great, but yeah. Like that match is going to rule, but there's no storyline attached to it. I'm getting on my soapbox here. I'm so sick of like the WWE shills coming after AEW for not having stories, for not having storylines, all of this stuff, because it's like, it's Bianca Asuka. You need a story. Like, we just want to watch the match. It's like, it's going to rule, but no, they're going to be perfectly fine with this because it's their people, and it's going to have no build, and I don't care. Like, I can't wait for that match. That's the match I'm looking forward to. But you raised a good question here. The next closest thing to a storyline that I feel like that's going right now is Charlotte Rhea. And that storyline is built upon previous experience, not built on a story. If it's, I don't know that there's any storyline. Becky's been feuding with Damage Control, but it's not really a story. It's just they've been beefing. And then I don't really know why the outcome had to be Lita. I still am holding out hope that Trish will be on the card before then, but that seemed to not have happened. And we know we're getting another match with Finn Balor and Edge, which I hate, that we're wasting Edge's rest of his career on this bullshit Judgment Day stuff that's been going on for a year. That's the legacy he's going to leave when he came out of retirement miraculously, is I feuded with Randy Orton before getting hurt. And then I came back, made House of Purple, and now we're here a year later, because we don't know how much time we're getting with Edge in the ring. I want him to move on. He needs to move on. That's probably the closest story. The only other one that's probably not announced yet, and I'm sure is going to happen, is Bobby and Brock. That's got to happen. Hurt Business reunites. That's probably where they're going to do that. I think it'll get a huge pop. Frankly, the only thing I'm looking forward to right now, outside of the Bloodline storyline, is Bianca and Asuka, and everything else kind of is meh for me. I'm only looking forward to that match. I know the other matches are going to be great, but I don't care about any of them. Wow. I'm surprised you guys didn't mention the Mysterio feud.
I don't
Ray
care.
versus Dominic. I know it's been the Judgment Day. It's been long going. I think the outcome, Ray versus Dominic, could be better. I see you shaking your head, Brad, but I think the match.
Let me ask you.
Our expectations are so low. I think it's going to exceed it.
Let me ask you this question: are you more excited for Ray finally turning on him, or you are more excited for a match? You know that punch to the face to set it up is going to be 8 million times better than the damn match.
The bunny is there. Well, and then also, what is the outcome of that match? You would think Dom has to go over, right? This is
winner goes to prison.
Winner goes to prison. Yeah. I would also think Ray like the whole build for Dominic from his debut at SummerSlam a couple of years ago against Seth Rollins, in my estimation, has been for this match, where Dom's biggest win in his career by far is beating his father, right? Pops gives him the rub, and then, we'll see what becomes of Dom from there. Hopefully something. But I think storyline wise, I mean, this match has been built for a long time. Like you said, Brad, Rhea versus Charlotte. We can go back to the footage of the pirate ship WrestleMania when Charlotte went over in a very controversial decision by the company to put Charlotte over and win the NXT title. So those are my two that are sticking out.
No,
Again,
I think
Charlotte over again.
Yeah, I think Dom and Ray is probably the best story. I don't need it to be a match for it to be a good story. I feel like the beatdown backstage is a better payoff than the wrestling match. And I think Dom has to win, but what do you do with Ray after that? Ray has been taking L after L after L after L after L.
He lost the cross this past
week. I know he's bulletproof because he's Rey Mysterio, but like, dude's still got fans, and I'm tired of seeing him lose for no reason. Like,
he's on my Mount Rushmore. I love that man.
There are some people that can lose. So I have a feeling we're heading into temp check here, but like the Corbin stuff this week with Sami. Corbin needs to lose so we can get back to loser Baron Corbin. I think that's where they're heading here. But I didn't really need that. That was just like, hey, who do we have in the back? Let's have Baron go out there and take out Sami. I don't know, man. I feel like they have a lot of random stuff happening and then a few really good stories happening within it. They're concentrating obviously on the Bloodline and Cody. Anybody interacting with the Bloodline right now. So I don't know. My question for you is, what are you looking forward to WrestleMania that isn't on the card that you could expect some surprise returns or surprise appearances? And maybe we save this for later, but I don't know if we're gonna have George later. So let's do this now. I'm gonna say I'm hoping for the Switchblade to appear, and I'm gonna also hope for a Naomi appearance.
Wow, those are heavy hitters. Yes, please, for both. I think I need a moment to think about this. George, what are you thinking on the return surprise side of things?
Well, so in the absence of like true storytelling leading up to Mania, I think actually it would be a really good decision to add like the Andre the Giant Battle Royale or something like that. Some big match where a Jay White could come in and be one of those guys just entered in and then end up going over his first match in. So you're giving him that pop because some people might not necessarily know who he is coming in. And this kind of gives you a little bit more faces in the ring so people can see like, oh, he can eliminate other guys, or he can actually get in there and work and go toe-to-toe with some of the faces we already know. He goes over, and you've just added another guy to either a mid-card or a top-tier card.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jay White would be phenomenal. I if he's going to WWE, it would seem like debuting in LA or the Monday, right? The Monday Night Raw following would be absolute money. Yes, please, please for Naomi. I also think Riddle is a potential possibility. We know he's, focusing on his wellness and trying to get that back. I just remember, speaking of live event Jones, the three of us going to that WWE house show July 4th weekend, and Riddle, in my estimation, being the top babyface on the men's side of things on the card. I walked away from that house show thinking, okay, Bianca, face of the women's division right now, and Riddle, top babyface for the men. Cody was injured at the time, so Riddle went over Seth Rollins in the infamous Tucson street fight. And so that was a real eye-opener for me of like, oh, wow, yeah, Riddle is being positioned as that dude. So whenever he makes his comeback, whether it's WrestleMania or later on, I think he's going to be in a prominent spot. I don't think this is a case where someone's injured, they come back, and they fall a peg or two down from where they were on the card prior. I think he's going to come back and be a massive, massive deal. So yeah. I'm going to throw Riddle in there.
And I don't know what injury status is for Randy or Big E.
Big E, yes.
Possibility there. I think Randy's farther out than Big E, but Big E, he's got another observation a year later, and I'm not sure how close we are to that. I know it's going to be a while. So the other thing, and this is the last thing I'll say before we move on here, is Dax confirmed that their contract is up at the beginning of April, and other things are also at the beginning of April. I'm not putting that out there. It sure feels like that ship has sailed. It could be a work from this weekend with Dax saying, well, tell me April's coming up without telling me April's coming up, by not acknowledging FTR's accolades in the company, and then going, congratulations on the tag team award from the Wrestling Observer, but only to the Briscoes for match of the year and not including FTR at all. Either everybody's in on this giant work or there's some serious sour grapes, because Dax did tweet out that picture of vodka that had the little WWE memo off to the side that had been deleted and then re-added. So you can't see the memo. They cropped it just enough and you put it back up there. But I feel like all of that is trolling. I'm pretty sure FTR is coming back to AEW, but I don't know what they have left to do there. And if they can go back and make a ton more money in WWE and go and wrestle the Usos, who is their favorite, I think it's their favorite opponents, that's what they have to do. I would love to see them go back, but I don't want to see them as the Revival. I want to see them as FTR if they go to the WWE. But that would be one I'd be out of my seat, especially if they come in with the ruckus music. I'd be screaming my head off. It would be amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely a something for us to track. When you sent me the Dax tweet, as you know, my initial cynical thought was probably at work. They'll be back in AEW and just go straight for the gold and straight for the guns. But we're living in a time where we just don't know, and that's what makes following this whole business is very exciting, right? They could show up the Raw after Mania and they're coming for the Usos or they're coming for Sami and KO. We shall see. George, you must be stoked about FTR. I know you're a pretty big fan of the Living Legends, right? 7-star.
Well, big fan of tag team action in general, and that's one place where I think like AEW's got it right, where trios and tag teams are really shining, and you get the flip side, WWE, not that many like actual tag teams. So immediately FTR comes in as like viable tag champs because they're an actual tag team that came up and has been together before. But I would love to see them come back. Again, though, I don't know about the longevity, just because FTR in AEW, I feel like they have stacked opponents where you get the Guns, you get the Acclaimed, you get, you get Lucha Bros, or you don't. I'm not a huge fan of the Double J and Jay Lethal, but
I'm sure we'll talk about that soon.
Yeah. But they are an established tag team at this point.
Yeah.
So FTR coming over, yes, you get the Usos, but you don't get, or even, I forgot even the Bucks. I mean, we saw them put on a masterpiece.
The Bucks, best friends, top flight. It's just
exactly.
loaded.
Yeah. And
Orange
I don't know. Yeah, I just don't see obviously the money and the prowess of WWE is there. And again, you get the Usos, who might be their favorite opponent, but I think you're robbing the fans of getting so many good matchups in AEW.
And I think the storyline is there. Funny enough, it could go either way, right? The Guns held that funeral for FTR, so maybe that is their goodbye to AEW, but the storyline's right there for them to come back, defeat the Guns. Everyone in the arena will applaud and be on their feet for the Guns being dethroned. It's just, it could go one way or the other, Brad. Like you said, it's definitely something to monitor for sure.
Fascinated by the politics involved in all of this, considering CM Punk's status. I think if they can convince, if Punk's like, I'm coming back, we've made amends, or we made amends enough to do business.
Yep.
I think that sways FTR, but on the other end of it, Kenny and the Bucks, both of their contracts are up at the end of the year. Does that keep them away from AEW? I don't know. It's so intriguing to me. I think the perfect place to have Punk come back, because he'll be ready pretty soon, would be All Out. Like having him return at All Out would make a ton of sense, right?
Has to be. Hear me out. Main event of All Out, the Elite versus CMFTR.
Oh my God. Just print money. Print money.
Highest grossing AEW pay-per-view of all time, very likely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, or just Kenny versus Punk.
Sure.
Kenny
Why
versus
not?
Punk on the main card. All right. Have that be an Iron Man match.
Sign me up. Right.
Inject that right into my eyeballs. Like, do it now.
I think it's pretty safe to say that we've transitioned from WWE talk to AEW, so we should keep that momentum going. We are going to jump into, Brad, correct me if I'm wrong, what I believe is the second installment ever of Live Event Jones. Let's play the music. So guys, we attended AEW Dynamite and thus AEW Rampage and AEW Dark Elevation this past week. So we all converged on the Footprint Center here in Phoenix, Arizona for this massive evening. So I want to turn it over to you, George, to kick it off. I want to hear what it was like to travel from Tucson/Marana, Arizona to get to Phoenix. I know you scooped up Brad from the high school. You guys made pretty impressive timing. I know when my pops and I rolled to the arena, you guys were not only in the merch line already, but you had already dined together. It was just, you guys were stress-free. You were just there and ready to go. So I want to hear logistically how it was getting to Phoenix, and then of course we can talk about the live experience. So George, what was the excursion like this past Wednesday?
Actually super easy getting up. Like Brad and I, well, getting up and coming back, super easy. Usually you run through a little bit of traffic in the Chandler area. Not this time, just straight up to Footprint. Well, we were at Chase, which is right next to Footprint, so we ended up just staying there, kind of walking a little bit down the street, like to a couple restaurants, seeing everything that's gone on. I know for Brad it was all pretty much brand new, which is pretty cool. I was up there for the Super Bowl experience, so I kind of saw a little bit of it, but yeah, everything was super easy, real nice. And then yeah, they opened the doors a little bit early for people to get in line for merch or drinks. And Brad and I had this conversation at Footprint. They should have opened the team store, because I know people would have gotten the KD jersey
100%
while they were there.
100%.
Missed opportunity.
Yep.
No doubt. What? And speaking of merch, we should probably let the listeners know in terms of our fit for the evening. Yeah, so we'll definitely talk about merch that was purchased. George, if you're watching the video, scooped his "I Was There" Dynamite tee. George, you arrived to the venue in your Acclaimed hoodie. Right?
Acclaimed hoodie and Ricky Stark's shirt.
Absolute.
Yes.
Brad, you had on your incredible Will Ospreay, Billy Goat satin
the Nerds clothing, the Nerds clothing jacket, and the Acclaimed Every Wednesday, Top Rope Tuesday pink tee.
Yes, I had on my Keith Lee tee, and then just jacket. It was kind of cold Wednesday evening, right? It was like the high 50s. It was rainy that morning.
It was also cold in the building off and on. It was hot and then cold and then hot and then cold. I felt like they were trying to give us all some kind of disease.
One of our friends, shout out to Carlos, who also attended the Tucson house show, texted me as I was going to the arena, and he said, "I see Brad's jacket." So I don't know if you and Carlos ever made contact, Brad, but he definitely saw your jacket in the arena, which just popped me. I was like, yeah, that's my man.
He did message me. Yes, he did message me.
Okay. I'm glad. Amazing. So you guys were in the merch line. We ended up seeing you all, and then we met at the seats. But I texted Brad. He's like, "Yo, Brad, can you scoop a Dynamite I Was There tee for me and those Orange Cassidy socks?" Brad, you ended up getting to the seats with George, and I asked you what the damage was, and I knew the shirt was 35. Not a huge deal, not ideal, but not a big deal. George, we go to live events. We know 35 is the standard price for a tee. But those Orange Cassidy socks, they're blue, they're beautiful, and they were also $25. Guys, I don't think I've ever spent $25 on a pair of socks. I go to Ross, Dress for Less, and if those Johns are more than like $8, they're going back on the rack. Even if they're the cool like Nike Cushion or Nike Pro, they're going back on the rack. So $25 later, $35 for the tee. We finally were at our seats, and I know we didn't really talk about how we want to kind of go through what the live experience was like. Obviously, we could talk about the card and our favorite matches, but I'm curious for both of you. And Brad, if you want to kick us off, I think that'd be amazing. We know that AEW crowds are praised for their excitement, their liveliness, just their spirit, right? What was it like for you, being that this was your first time at an AEW live event? Were the expectations you had met? What was that experience like? I know you have a few anecdotes as well.
They were met on the way in. Everybody seemed super stoked. I'm trying to think of a way to talk about this.
Oh yeah, we got to get into it. We're ready.
Some form of decorum here.
We're ready.
Listen, man. We just talked about what we were wearing. Okay, we're all a bunch of freaking geeks. Like we're marks. It is what it is. That's fine. That being said, professional wrestling attracts a very different clientele. An eclectic group of individuals, we'll call it, because oh boy, there were a lot of different walks of life there, which I think is really cool. And also there were just some incomprehensible douchebags that sat really close to us saying horrible shit about Nyla Rose, almost getting into a fist fight with a giant Danhausen that clearly had a disability. It wasn't great. I enjoyed the crowd stuff. I enjoyed people popping for the show. I didn't enjoy Drunk Martha behind us, who had never seen wrestling before, that was referring to Lee Johnson as red pants and Wheeler Yuta as white pants, and then cackling like she said something really funny. And then like her buddy Brandon next to her going like, yeah, I can't wait to have you over for Revolution. We'll have margaritas. Shut the fuck up and watch the show. Like, I'm so tired of listening to you playing your grill out. Like, it's just annoying. It's the people that are on their phone or talk at the movies while you're trying to watch the show. It's the same thing there, only it wasn't like crowd participation. The guy kind of like downstage left to us with the, I don't know what to call that haircut, that his entire identity is AEW live event guy. And that was,
he kind of had the Jonah Hill haircut where there's like some blonde highlights and it's kind of slicked back. I'm thinking Jonah Hill and You People, that recent Netflix movie, was, for our listeners and viewers, was very Jonah Hill-esque.
But not slicked back, it was just back. It was just it was just
oh, it wasn't that greasy, was it?
No, it was just like
it was just slick with some blonde
faded mullet. Like, I don't know what it was like. They chopped the fun part of the mullet off, and what we got left was that. It was somewhere between like a, I don't know, I don't even know what like a Karen cut and a mullet. It's somewhere in between that. And he had like a handlebar mustache thing.
Sunglasses.
Yeah.
Right? Like, weren't they kind of Aviator Jones?
Yeah, I didn't hear his wife or his girlfriend or his friend, whoever that was next to him. I did not a peep the entire night, and he was just yelling stuff, and it was cool seeing people interact. Don't get me wrong, it was fun watching him interact, but it was just very interesting, the different types of people, and then like people behind us going, "What the hell is happening right now?" And it was just so strange and so surreal to be there. For me personally, I think we shouldn't talk about the card. We can leave that for the second part. But getting to see Tony Schiavone and Taz and Jim Ross and all of these, Big Show, and I love that crowd booed Matt Menard on commentary. Clearly they don't watch the show. That man deserves some cheers. Getting to watch people and getting to see people enter that I grew up watching. Yeah, people have opinions about Chris Jericho because of his views, which I think are much more complicated than we give him credit for. It was really surreal being able to see Chris Jericho live. Like, he was my first favorite wrestler, like truly my favorite wrestler. Not like everybody loved Hogan growing up. Now we have different opinions, but everybody loved Hogan growing up. We were all Hulkamaniacs, and then Chris Jericho was my guy. I was like, oh, he's such a jerk. I love this guy. He's smaller. I was like, oh, this is like me. He's not a small man, but like, he was smaller in WCW next to like Lex Luger. Like, good lord. So getting to see all of that, the production, the people in the arena all cheering for the same thing, people loving Justin Roberts showing up, hometown guy, used to watch At the Footprint, like all of these things it was really incredible. I had a really good experience with the show. I didn't have a great experience with the crowd around us, but I think if you could correct that by having an enormous group of people get the same space and then you're all together, I think it can be a much more enjoyable experience. But I don't regret going. I don't know that I'll be so fast to pull the trigger on going next time, unless I'm bringing Freya to an event. It will not be to an AEW event. The blood, seeing the blood from 103, 25 rows back, shining in the ring in pools because Evil Uno literally left part of his body out there. That was surreal. That was absolutely surreal. The amount of blood that was down there. And then the crowd popping from the jumbo shot, from the Tron shot, when they did the close-up shot of Uno's face was like, and just pouring out all over Mox's arm. My God.
Mm-hmm.
So had a really great time. Was exhausted by the time Rampage started. I think the whole crowd was. Lots of people left. That part sucked, but I thought overall it was a really good experience. Not with the crowd, but with the show.
George, how was your experience?
Kind of similar to Brad. Like, I really loved going to the show, and I think watching on TV, you can see you could hear the crowd was hot. Like, there were the pops at the correct time. Just super, super loud. Like, it came through loud, and we kind of made the observation in the stadium that certain areas were mic'd up a little bit better. So that may be why it sounded a little bit better on TV, but definitely agree with, I don't know if it was just the section we chose, that there were just people making, like, this isn't a comedy show and I didn't come here for you. I came here to watch the ring. And there were just, like, come on, really, like, low-hanging fruit. Like, really, you're gonna talk shit about Nyla, who's a really good worker? I mean, you're gonna bring that hate here? Like, this isn't a place where it also just kind of brought out the fact that if you go to a WWE show and an AEW show, I think there's two different crowds. AEW is a little bit more, I would say, like, salt to the earth, very, like, also indie. Like, they're such an indie crowd, so they love doing, or like the chants are completely different. Like, I remember at one point we had asked your dad what his favorite chant was, because they're completely different than anything you hear in WWE. Or I think when Jericho was talking to Starks, people started to do the what chants, and they got shut down really quick because people in AEW are really against that, like doing that to people there. So it's just a little bit different. And then, I mean, when Matt comes out, obviously it's the Hardys music, so you just hear one drunk idiot, where's Jeff? And we're all kind of like, all right, well, that didn't need to be said. So I guess just seeing the card itself, it lived up to the hype that I wanted AEW. I got to see all the talents that I really wanted to see come out. But when it comes to the people around us, I mean, I just wish people thought a little bit more before they said stuff out loud in a crowd. Also, maybe it wasn't a good idea opening the bar an hour before the show even started, because that really came through at some points where people are burping and just saying nonsense in the crowd. So maybe kind of only selling during the show would have been better. Also, like you said, people were a little bit tired by Rampage, and when they were leaving, they should have, I think they put graphics up for who was on Rampage earlier in the night. So people got to miss one. Oh, sorry to get ahead of myself. People missed really good matches on Rampage. Something that I know, listening in, some people have been critical in the past where Rampage is just kind of the second show. Well, this week, not the case. It had some bangers on there.
Oh yeah, no doubt. That tag match, the Bucks versus Aussie Open, was incredible. I feel blessed to have watched the Bucks live.
Yes,
they are them. They are those dudes. Aussie Open was phenomenal. Again, not to just go on the card, but in terms of the live experience, I totally second what you guys said. It was so incredible being there with two dudes who I love and respect, the two guys I'm speaking with now, along with my dad being there. The fans we were with, though, such an interesting mix. Particularly the Brad, you were mentioning the 2 rows in front of us, directly in front of us, getting into that shouting match. And it's unfortunate because we think the people in front of us said something transphobic about Nyla Rose, and then the folks in front of them in the first row said something. They ended up like confronted them about the comment. That front row crew, the Danhausen guy, and then the two women he was with, ended up leaving and not returning to their seats. So we don't know if they just left the show, if they were seated in a different area. We don't know. But anyway, that left a weird taste in my mouth because I asked you guys, I was like, did that just happen what I think happened, that they said some, you know, which totally did happen. But then fast forward 90 minutes later when we've moved on with the card and the Acclaimed come out. And those three dudes in front of us, the eldest guy, who was maybe the dad, it was very mysterious. But the Acclaimed come out, great rap from Max Caster, and Anthony Bowens gets in the ring, scissor me daddy ass, he goes in for Billy Gunn. And then the dad in front of us turns around and is looking for a scissor partner and locks eyes with me. And so at that point, I had already forgotten about the abhorrent shit he said earlier. And so I returned his scissor. So I absolutely scissored a transphobe at this event, which does not feel good to me at all. Because that dude, if what we think happened actually happened, I have no room for that dude in my life ever. But I had a blast with you guys, hearing the music, hearing the entrances, Jamie Hayter, Ricky Starks. I mean, we can go on and on. Takeshita, that was amazing. Like you two, I just wish the folks around us were not trying to make the show about them and not just saying awful things about Matt Hardy's brother, about Nyla Rose. That's just that's the worst of the fan base. And like you said, George, there's no room for that.
Well, the thing that got me too was that the guys ended up taking the people's seats that they basically forced out through intimidation. That really bothered me. That part got me, and I also scissored transphobe. When they turned around, it was like it was there, and I was like, what the hell? It's there.
Yeah, it's like, come on. And I want to pass to George after this, and I think we'll get onto our temperature check for AEW. They had a code of conduct that they projected on the big screen, and it was being narrated as well. So the code of conduct said, you know, all of these behaviors that, you know, are not allowed, and sort of this, you know, this decorum that we're supposed to have as a fan base who are watching entertainers perform. But they didn't show that code of conduct and read it on the big screen until after dark. So we got there, we watched an hour of Dark Elevation, then they read the code of conduct aloud, and then Dynamite started. So I told Brad, I think this is too little too late. We could have used this code of conduct an hour ago, or play it twice. God forbid, play it before Dark Elevation and then play it before Dynamite when more people have arrived. I just wish, you know, some of our peers would have heard that message beforehand. By the time they played that, it was too late because they already, you know, they were already popping off.
Yeah, and the one guy who moved up front basically told his dad to tell on the people in front of him, is what I gathered. And I was like, really, you're gonna nearly get into a fight, and then the best thing you can think of is, I'm gonna have my dad tell on you and see if he can get you out of the stadium.
And that guy had on an MJF scarf as well. George. So it's like, bro, MJF is a character.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to live the gimmick
like him? Yeah, and well, also, you're such big Acclaimed fans. Do you know who the Acclaimed are?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It's like, you must not have met or know anything about Anthony Bowens.
Yeah, I was going to say
saying
Anthony
shit
Bowens.
About part of that community.
Yeah,
like just get out of here, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in terms of our AEW temperature check, fellas, getting back to hopefully things that make us happy. So Dynamite, Rampage, what a card. I'll just kick it off here. Orange Cassidy and Wheeler Yuta had my match of the night, which opened Dynamite. It was incredible. You guys know I'm an OC mark, hence why I dropped nearly $30 to have him on my feet. That was incredible. I love that we got to see Willow Nightingale and Toni Storm tear it up on Rampage. We spoke about the tag match on Rampage. I have questions about Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett winning that tag team battle royale. I was convinced that this was the spot for the Lucha Brothers to go over in Arizona and thus get that tag title match in California. I was super wrong there. But I have a question for you guys, and please feel free to chime in on Dynamite and Rampage as well.
And now, it's time to talk AEW.
AEW Revolution is in 1 week's time as we record this. I'm at an interesting place with this pay-per-view. This is probably the event that I've been least excited for in terms of an AEW pay-per-view in quite some time. I know we're getting Ricky Starks versus Jericho. Again, I know we're getting that 4-way tag team battle royale. Jamie Hayter's defending against Ruby and Saraya. I want to be more geeked for this show. Of course, I'm going to watch it. We know that's a given, but my excitement for this show is maybe a 5 out of 10, whereas previous pay-per-views, Full Gear, All Out, etc., I was closer to 7, 8, 9, maybe even a 10. So want to know where you're at temperature check wise with Revolution. Are you going to buy it? Are you going to watch? Are you excited? And then, of course, what stuck out to you from Dynamite or Rampage?
I already
Brad,
bought
you want to
it.
kick us off with this one?
Yeah, I already bought it. It's how am I going to talk about
more
it
out
if
of
I don't watch it?
more out of excitement, or
No.
you did it because that's what we do?
It's what we do. I didn't buy it out of excitement. I'm with you. Like I don't. I'm with you. I'm like a 5, maybe a 6 out of 10. I'm really excited for the Iron Man match, and everything else is like also there. So I just want to see what they can do in an hour. I want to see what MJF can do in an hour. We know what Danielson could do in an hour. I'm really excited to see what happens there. I think we know something's going to happen. Like if the card looks like this, Tony probably goes, all right, we're going to have great wrestling on here, but we need something else. We need a moment. We need something to happen. So we're going to get a debut, a return. We're going to get something's going to happen here. Maybe Switchblade swerves us all and shows up in AEW. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be here for that. I'd be here for returning FTR if they're not on the card by then. We're going to find out more this week. I think if FTR is also wrestling the Guns, I think immediately I'm more excited for this pay-per-view. There's a lot of potential still. We have a week, but we only have a week. I don't know that I have the faith that in 1 week this is going to get built up. Do we know if Rampage is live this week? It's probably taped.
It is live.
It is live. Then we're getting something. Something will help set that up. And I don't know what that something will be. Hopefully freaking Jade Cargill, who was a ghost last week.
What is the TBS match at Revolution? There has to be one, right?
Where was she at all? Like she was just off TV entirely.
We got the promo package on Rampage, but it was brief. It was basically
really brief.
It was addressing our concerns of Jade says I'm 53-0. We've heard this from her before. I've beat everyone they put in front of me. I want someone. I want something of substance. But yeah, we have no idea what that's going to be. Is that Riho? Yeah. Is that what is the match? You have to have Jade on your pay-per-view.
Well, Riho's wrestling this week, right?
Right, exactly.
So,
I'm just fantasizing about a Jade versus Riho match. I think that would be awesome.
Could be a ton of fun. Great difference in styles. Oh my gosh, that would be a blast.
Yeah, but no Jade for us at the Footprint Center, and that I think that's just a big oversight heading into Revolution. I don't want to steal your shine, but that resonated with me.
One question I have for you and for both of you: the Keith Lee segment where he's wearing a Captain Picard Star Trek Nemesis chef suit is something. I thought it was cool as hell, and other people thought it was stupid. I was like, I'm intrigued to see what this is for his character change, because the way he carries himself is very pastoral. So maybe this is going to be like the House of Lee, the Church of Lee. I don't know what's coming here. Baptizing dudes in the ring. I think I don't care. I want to see what happens, but we didn't get that in the arena. So we were promised that in the arena. We were going to hear from Keith Lee. We were going to see these talent. They're going to be on Rampage. Do you feel like that is misleading the live event crowd if they say these people are going to be there, if they are on there on TV?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, well, that was something during the show when they had the Mark Henry announcement for the main event. I think I turned over to you, Brad, and I was like, well, hold on. Keith Lee and Dustin Rhodes we're supposed to hear from them. Same way we were supposed to hear from Christian Cage during Dynamite. And you were like, and both of you had pointed out, oh, well, it's probably just pre-taped. And I thought that was kind of a robbery on my part, because I was like, that would have been awesome to see Keith Lee and just to even make an appearance. Same with Christian Cage and Jungle Boy. They weren't out there for super long, but they were there.
Longer than on TV. We got to see them leave.
Yeah.
Because it cut to a commercial break when Christian held his arms out. So at least we got to see the aftermath, and Jungle Boy got a cheer. But I'm with you, man. Like, I'm totally with you on that. It's interesting. Tyler, what about you?
Yeah, I would agree with you. It was advertised for us exactly what you said, that Dustin Rhodes and Keith Lee, we would hear from them on Rampage, and we didn't get that experience at the Footprint. So yeah, total misleading. That is also a big difference from WWE and AEW. I went to SmackDown over the summer at Footprint, and they had quite a few backstage segments. Our experience at Dynamite this week, we did not have very many of those. I know we saw Evil Uno backstage, hyping up his main event match against Mox, but that's kind of all that I remember. And we, of course, got Tony Khan and Adam Cole. The important announcement was delivered. But yeah, definitely misleading. And that was also a stark contrast. There were far less backstage segments than my experience at SmackDown over the summer.
My biggest robbery from this week, absolute robbery, is they played the wrong damn music when Hangman came out.
I was wondering, I didn't ask you guys this, but I was wondering in the moment.
Was so big, but I didn't hear that. I was waiting for it because it's Pavlovian for me. And they played Evil Uno's theme over the top of the Hangman intro. So we didn't actually get Hangman's music when he came out. It was
Ghost Town Country, right?
No, Ghost Town Triumph.
Ghost Town Triumph.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, I play it on occasion. I felt like I got robbed. I just straight up did. But at least we got to see him. We got to see a lot of people. We didn't get to see them work. We didn't get. I'm actually excited for this AEW backstage thing. I think that's going to be really cool. I love the idea. I just hope it's not like worked backstage stuff. I want to see real backstage stuff. I want to see what it looks like in catering. I want to see like just simple, stupid things. Give me, like I said, I want AEW Hard Knocks. Like, give me that. I think that could be really cool.
Do you guys think we are? This is my last question for you before we move on. I've seen in the community there's some chatter about there could be some major title switches at Revolution, namely in the women's and men's division. So Jamie Hayter potentially dropping her title to Saraya or Ruby. I've seen a case made for either of those challengers winning. And then on the men's side of things, I thought it was, and I still think it's a given that MJF is going to retain. He's going to defeat Bryan Danielson. But it seems like there's some chatter that's picking up about maybe Danielson walks out of San Francisco with that big gold belt. What do you guys think? I know it sounds like our excitement level for Revolution is not what it's been for previous pay-per-views, but do you think there's a chance, or not a chance, how likely do you think it is that we're going to get a major title switch on this Sunday show?
Likely. I think it's very likely.
Yeah.
I mean, the trio
for both. Yeah, House of Black versus the Elite.
Like,
that's
for
my main
me,
event.
at least, I would that. I'm sorry, I'm having.
No, it's fine. 9 Pixel Jones.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just having a little technical issues, but yeah, I definitely think that there needs to be some turnover, and MJF, I feel like it's a good spot to have him lose a title right now, and Danielson's so over. Having him go on and carry that title, because that's another wrestler. I don't know how much time he has left, so I would like to see him at his peak hold the belt. And then House of Black, we got to see it a little bit different than it was on TV, but
about 10 more seconds different.
Yeah. We got to see them like sprinting out, but
yeah, that was awesome.
It was really cool.
That would be they're a team that would benefit from just having gold to bring that awareness to their faction. I think they've built it. They have the guys that can go and really defend these titles. Jade, I think, needs a little bit of a shakeup. She's, and it's a bad comparison, just I would say, but she's Bianca to AEW, where she is this character that can't be beat. She's this larger than life character, but it's only cool to be that character for a little while. You do want to see them lose and have to face a little bit of adversity. I want to see her face adversity, and I want to see her come up on the other side of it. So I was actually rooting for the Red Velvet, like one of the baddies, to take the belt off of her,
too.
and then she flips it around and just takes it right back. But it doesn't seem like that's the way it's going to go. She was just another Red Velvet was just another mark, another win. So I would like to see, or even get, say, like a Britt Baker, someone that can give her, like, that can at least match the name value. You want someone that can actually give you a fight, well, take on some of the heads of the company.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, Britt versus Jade, I'm here for. Great shout with the trios match. That actually is one that I am stoked for. I definitely think House of Black need. If they don't win this, I don't know what I'm going to do. They have to win. I don't want Jamie Hayter to drop yet. You guys are really convincing me here. Maybe it is Danielson's time to finally hold gold in All Elite Wrestling. We shall see.
I think Ruby winning would be the way to go there. It should not be Saraya. It should not capital N, capital O, capital T, not be Saraya. No, please no. Mm-hmm. On the stick, yes. In the ring, absolutely not. Ruby could do it. I don't want to see Jamie drop for a long time. Yeah. Like I just don't. I'm even okay with like Ruby taking out Saraya and then Jamie taking out Ruby and getting the pin. I don't care. Maybe that's the thing that pushes Ruby to the other side. And I don't really care what happens with that. I can't wait to see what happens with that. But I don't want Saraya to win. I love Saraya. She's not Jamie Hayter right now. She's just not in ring. She's a legend. I think her role right now is perfect. She's having good fun matches. I don't know if I want to call what happened with Cora, or not Cora, Diet Cora.
Yeah.
Sky Blue.
I thought it was
who we cheered for is catching a stray this weekend.
Okay, but what is the character?
The Cora Jade aesthetic is very similar.
I don't know what Cora Jade. I don't really get her thing because she had a skateboard then dropped it because she didn't know how to skateboard. That didn't make any sense. And then we have Cora Jade I did it again. Sky Blue, who is Sky Blue. She wears blue. That's what I know about her. I don't know anything about her other than I love her footwear. So if they can figure out a character for her, yeah, put a belt on her. Like, she's great. She has a great look. She's fun to watch in the ring. I didn't love her match with Saraya. I love the way that Saraya worked the crowd. I don't want to see her with a belt. Not right now, anyway. I think she's just a little rusty. It's been damn near a decade. So I think this let her get some in-ring stamina before putting a belt on her. I think it could happen though. But I think Danielson is the right time to pull the trigger on him. And even if it's just for a little while and then Max gets it back, maybe they do it at whatever the St. Patrick's, what do they call it? The St. Patty's Day Slam or whatever.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do that. Have Max win there. Maybe they put him in a stip match and he loses. That's fine. But I want to see Danielson hold the title for a little while. I think that would be really good. And then as far as the other belt goes, I don't know who Jay's wrestling, if she's wrestling at all. The only person that I could possibly think it would be Chris. If Statlander comes back, that's the one. The end.
100%.
Yeah. No, she's beaten literally everybody else, including Statlander, including Thunder Rosa. Like, there's just so many people it could be, but she even beat Britt, I think. I think it might have been in actually, I think it was like one of those casino battle royale things, which we're also getting the tag team casino battle royale, which is why I think it's got to be FTR. So, or we get like Hookhausen or Jungle Hook or something. That's the only other thing it could be. But I think it's got to be FTR.
FTR makes so much sense, especially with the built-in rivalries in that match.
Maybe heel FTR after all this.
Yeah.
I would love to see them return to form. I would love that.
Yeah.
Well, I know we were talking about, I believe Tyler and I were talking about the dynamic of 2 heels versus 2 babyface tags. So if FTR comes back, they'd be one of the babyface side. And I think they kind of alluded to it. Well, as far as the Guns speaking with Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett saying like, well, we'll handle your business if you handle ours, without knowing who their opponent is. Like the 2 tags will have to feud with the other 2 tags. So
Yeah.
I think adding in an FTR would put this card over, definitely. And I would want to see them actually have another face-off with the Guns, because yeah, the Guns had the funeral, but it felt like it was so cut short where, oh yeah, we buried the FTR. Well, FTR needs to have their say.
Yeah, that needs to come back around. I
Yeah.
agree fully. I said that as well. Like it needs to come back around with that storyline.
Yeah.
One, and finally, shout out to Sammy Guevara and Action Andretti. I was so impressed with them as the Rampage main event. I know when that match was announced as being the main event, our collective juices maybe weren't titillated as much as previous Rampages, but those dudes delivered. I still don't understand the weird hate against Sammy. There were "F you, Sammy" chants in the arena. I know his character's a heel, but it just seems like there's extra vitriol for him
For no
still,
reason.
which I don't get. And Andretti is a real budding star. I thought that dude was absolutely killer when we saw him live. But speaking of baby faces and heels, speaking of being over, it is time for my favorite segment of the week. We have some Bachelor business to discuss, or more me to tell you guys, and then I want to hear your thoughts. Let's go ahead and jump into a rose from me, a rose from Tyler.
And now, for a rose from GI's most eligible bachelor.
So, fellas, some quick notes for you, and then I want to turn the floor over back to you guys. Brad, I have some unfortunate news to inform you of. We had our first annual Bachelor Fantasy Draft heading into Zach Shallcross's season. You chose 3 women who you thought were most likely to make it to the end. I also chose 3. I got to tell you, my man, your 3 have all been eliminated. Mercedes was officially bounced this past week from The Bachelor. So I don't know what we do from here, Brad, with our picks. You can certainly join me and root for Charity and Catherine, but your 3 are unfortunately gone. This past week's episode was really unique in that Zach got COVID. So we saw the first ever rose ceremony, virtual rose ceremony. So he was not there to physically give out roses. He had to do all of this over a computer screen. I can see you guys are already enthralled by my recap. Yeah, if you're watching video, you got to see Brad and George right now. So I'm just going to say this. They were in London. It started out promising, but then Zach apparently got COVID, and women's hearts were broken because they couldn't see him. Our girl Charity didn't have her one-on-one date. Mercedes went home via a computer screen. It was all an experience. Question for you guys, though. Obviously, we made a lot of progress here in the States with regard to COVID, right? Vaccines and folks just being in a much better position health-wise now than, say, 2 years ago. But also, we know that we're dealing with some ramifications still from COVID, whether that be health-wise or in our communities and small businesses, etc. So my question for you is, thinking about spring 2020 and how our lives, 3 of us, were completely shifted professionally, personally. Looking back at that time, what do you think you maybe not learned, but what were some of your takeaways from that experience? Now that I think we have enough hindsight to look back and just process how strange and how scary that time period was. Just curious, any reflections or any thoughts on that time period now that we're almost 3 years later, looking back at it?
Yeah, I can jump in. I got several of those like face mouth guard gimmicks that go underneath the mask to keep the mask off of your face, because like, ready for this? I have a problem keeping masks on my face because I got like nothing there. So whenever I'd wear a mask, it would slide off my face, and I had to put this thing on there to keep it, because I had to pull it so tight to keep it on from sliding off if I talked. It was just constantly me doing this. It was like, well, what's the point of this if my hands are all over it? And the idea that we're supposed to kind of keep track of what chemicals in a classroom we're supposed to have. And then they put that like QTR4 stuff out that will melt your skin if you touch it, that we were supposed to spray it on our desks between classes and then wipe it off. But that stuff's only effective if it sits there for 30 minutes, and we're using it like Windex. So it was they're just like all of us just sort of doing whatever, not really knowing what the hell is going on, not knowing if any of this works, trying to explain the physics of masks. People like the viral particles that go right through the mask. It's like, yes, but when you cough and spit everywhere, that won't, you dumbass. Like incomprehensibly stupid people not understanding how masks work. I'm still mad about this because I'm thinking about the kid that sat in the corner of my first period class that pulled his mask down, picked his nose, and then wiped a booger on it. Like, what the hell are we doing? Having to deal with that just made me realize how gross people are. And I still find myself, the ramifications long-term are, number one, I wear a mask now if I have a cough or if I feel sick. I just do. And people will go, are you sick? Yes, I am. The end. Nobody questions it. Number two, I have masks everywhere in my house now that I can use if I'm doing woodworking or cleaning. Absolute benefit. And finally, I'm paying much more attention to like my hand hygiene and general cleanliness, even though everything around me is dirty right now. It's not full of disease. It's just dusty. So lots of things to think back. It was a wild time. It was kind of scary. I think we all thought there would be bodies in the streets, and it just simply wasn't that way. But hospitals were full, man. Like it was one of those times where I'm like, do I go out back and do stuff in the yard? Because if I cut myself really badly, I got to go to the hospital and I could get sick there. And I don't know if they're going to have treatment for me. Just simple things like that, where it was just legitimately trying to weigh consequences. Like I would not have been on that ladder at the school yesterday at all if this were any time during that. So yeah, absolutely wild time to look back and think about.
Yeah. George, how about you?
Yeah, definitely. I know throughout COVID, so knock on wood, my wife and I never actually had it, so that's a blessing. But obviously took all the necessary precautions. Yeah, like vaccines and masking up and everything as often as we could. I know my old roommate. So when the pandemic started, my roommate Kyle, him and I were still roommates, and we were really on top of everything. Like I work at a shop, so we had gloves, we had masks, like whatever we could, we had ready to go. And so we were pretty stocked up there throughout the entire thing. But having to face him moving to Minneapolis, we had to do that during the pandemic. We had to, as you know, Tyler, I'm a coach outside of work, and that was a big thing. You know, how do you coach kids without being able to be one-on-one with them? At first, it was virtually. Okay, we're going to teach you guys a little bit of X's and O's as often as we could. Then we're going to go put it out on the field and see, or eventually go out onto the field, and you have to wear a mask. We can only do this in groups of 10. We have to be spread apart. We can't touch weights, which was a big one. So that was all pretty wild to get through. And yeah, not having access to a weight room or training facility that we could all go to. And also, especially in Tucson or in Arizona in general, you know, we're facing two different sides of, I think, a political spectrum or a political coin, where you're hearing vastly different things from either side, and you kind of have to make your own path to see the best things you can do, or the best way to handle this scenario for you. And I think overall too, one thing kind of like Brad touched on, people are gross. Being around people is gross. And uh, I would say I like to be social, but in the circles that I like, not necessarily uh, going out to clubs or parties or anything like that. Kind of, I think as my age has gone on throughout the pandemic as well, I've really fit into that role where, okay, I've got my circles of friends, and we've gotten a little bit tighter throughout this whole thing. Uh, I'm okay with being a little bit more of a homebody, a little bit more of a small circle kind of person.
Yeah, well said, guys. I totally agree with you there, George. I think I was definitely a low-key homebody beforehand, and now probably certainly more.
Mm-hmm.
My appreciation for educators, for healthcare professionals, I think has just only grown over the last few years. Brad, from what you mentioned about hospitals being, understaffed and overfilled with patients, It's just the heroic work that people we know do every day, and even people we don't know, but we can just express our appreciation for their sacrifices. Yeah, that's tenfold for me. I saw a movie recently. I think we spoke about this a few weeks back, Brad. It's called Sick. It's on Peacock. It is a horror movie that is kind of reflective on the pandemic. It's set during the start of the pandemic and really shows the hysteria and uncertainty we all faced. And it's kind of a cheeky horror movie. It's actually a pretty good watch. But between seeing that recently and then this past week's Bachelor episode where COVID was a large part of the storyline, just made me think about, I think we're far enough removed from it now where we can have these conversations once in a while about that time. But obviously we know it's not totally disappeared. George, what you said is so accurate. Unfortunately, it became a political issue and became political theater rather than just a public health crisis. So I know this could be its own separate GI episode, but we do not have plans to do that. I just appreciate you guys. I think this has taught me to reach out to folks I love and admire more frequently. Because time is not infinite, as we know. So appreciate you guys. Thank you for sharing that. I want to know what you are most looking forward to this week. Is it wrestling? Is it personal? What's going on?
I don't know.
Good episode. All right. So Gimmick Infringement.
I really don't know. I'm
coming off a rodeo break. Yeah.
I'm so busy that I don't know. Like Tuesday, I'm looking forward to Tuesday. Why? I can get caught up on some stuff on Tuesday. That's what I'm looking forward to because it's a band concert. I'm not allowed to build. The rest of the week, I'm freaking out about how much I got to do. I plan to have a mini panic attack, 6 strokes, maybe a heart attack somewhere sprinkled in there, maybe a weight loss venture because of all of this, or a weight gain venture. I don't know how it's going to go. So, I'm looking forward to all of that.
George, no pressure, but I need you to go next.
Thank you, Brad, for giving me perspective. That's all.
He's always good for that.
Yes. So I actually have a back-to-back trips. So last week had the trip, or this when it airs, I should say. You can say last week. This week coming up, Thursday, I get to go up to Minneapolis, go visit my roommate or former roommate, Kyle. Yeah, shout out Kyle. Get to go see what Minneapolis is all about. It's actually for a coaching thing, like a coach's clinic up there. Didn't go to the one in Vegas, so I'm going to head up to the one in Minneapolis. So looking forward to that, having the shorter week of work, obviously, but that should be a good time.
Yeah, amazing, man. Well, safe travels there. We are stoked to hear about how the coaching clinic goes. For me, 2 notes. George, you know this. I am slowly but surely trying to become an XFL fan again. So I love The Rock. I want to support him. Brad, when the XFL rebooted, going back to the pandemic, right? When the XFL rebooted, I was all in. I wanted to get back into it. And then COVID shut it down, unfortunately. So I'm dabbling in some XFL, trying to figure out who my team is. There's some Texas, there's some Vegas. Obviously, George's squad,
DC.
The DC Defenders by far have the best logo and the best merch. So I'm trying to figure that out. But big news, Creed 3 comes out this week. It really crept up on me. Huge fan of the first Creed. Creed 2 was dope as well. I don't know that a third is necessary, but listen, anytime Tessa Thompson is on the screen, I am willing to pay to see her brilliance. So I think I'll find a way to see this at some point in the month of March. So Creed 3 XFL. And speaking of merch, I did notice we have a 15% off special running through, I believe, Monday evening on our site. So find us at GIPod19 on Twitter for all of those details. It is the official 19 Media Group webpage, web store, I should say. If you haven't seen, the merch with all of our new logo is now available. So Brad, I mean, you know this, man. You created the beautiful logo that we have now. You can get this logo on a pillow, on a tote, I think like on a pet bandana, on tees, on hoodies. We're really out here, man. So hopefully a good week for all of us. Brad, anything you want to make sure we mention before we kick it to George and then sign off?
No, I think you covered everything, man. Make sure you head to the site, check out the articles that we have up there. Tyler's been doing a lot of work for the podcast lately, jumping on other pods. There's links all over the place. Head to social, like Tyler said, and find us all over. The only thing I'll add there is that yesterday we cooked up a crossover podcast with Stephen Cameron of the Close Up Magic NBA podcast and Orlando Magic podcast. We got together to talk about the crossover between wrestling and hoops, and it was a lot of fun. It's about an hour long, and it is totally worth your time. We had a blast doing it. I think everybody involved had a lot of fun, so check that out as well.
Yeah, it was amazing. Thank you for mentioning that. George, we so appreciate you joining us. It is always great to see you. Always amazing to chop it up about wrestling and more. Where can people find you if they want to continue the conversation?
Mainly Twitter, Instagram. It's the same handle, Niners94. Yeah, reach out there if you want to keep this conversation going. Willing to do that. Again, thank you guys for having me on. It was a blast going to the show with you guys this past week. Like we were talking about, big Acclaimed fan. So getting to see them in person. And then I think Tyler, you guys knew the pop that you were going to get out of me when they came out. So just really thankful for having friends like you guys, being able to come onto the pod and then going out to that show with you guys.
Always, man. Well, thank you so much. You probably know by now, you can find Brad and I on Twitter also. Brad is at Wind Duster. See all of his exploits, not only in the classroom, right? Amazing educator, but doing the work on the tech side of things for the theater productions at Miranda High School. He's got ladders. He's got just all the things you would expect and then some. So follow him at Wind Duster. I am at Tyler J. McDowell, and we are so thankful that you joined us, and we hope you will be back for next week. Gimmick Infringement is a part of 19 Media Group. You can listen to us on Good Pods, our premier partners, and Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube via the 19 Media Group channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.